Mythology and some of the biggest anime series out there.
You know those series you think you know like the back of your hand? Well, get ready to see them in a whole new light because we've been digging into some seriously interesting source material. And let me tell you, it suggests that the influence of Indian legends and philosophy on anime is way deeper than most people realize.
Deeper than we even thought going into this, honestly.
Sir.
All right, so let's get right into it. And where better to start than with the one and only Naruto? I mean, come on, ninjas, epic battles, the whole thing screams action, right? But believe it or not, our sources point to some pretty surprising roots in the Mahabharata. And for anyone out there who might not be familiar, the Mahabharata is like this epic ancient Indian text.
It really is like foundational to Indian culture.
Oh yeah, it's packed with incredible stories and philosophical ideas that have been influencing storytelling for centuries.
Absolutely.
Now, what's fascinating here is the link between Indra and Asura in Naruto and the ancient conflict between the Devas, who are these powerful beings in Hindu texts led by Indra, and the Asuras, who were kind of their rivals.
Yeah, it's like this constant clash of ideologies and power. And you see that mirrored in Naruto with Indra and Asura, who are portrayed as, well, powerful brothers locked in this ongoing struggle that spans lifetimes through reincarnation.
It's that reincarnation cycle that really gets me. Indra and Asura being reborn again and again, always clashing. It totally reminded me of the dynamic between Vishnu, the preserver god in Hindu belief, and Shiva, the destroyer and transformer.
It's all about maintaining that balance.
Exactly. And this is where things get super interesting, right? You have Sasuke as the reincarnation of Indra and Naruto as the reincarnation of Asura. It's almost like a direct parallel to the epic confrontation between Krishna, who is an avatar of Vishnu and a central figure in the Mahabharata guiding Arjuna, and their opponent Karna. When you look at that rivalry between Naruto and Sasuke through this lens, man, it adds a whole new layer of depth.
It really makes you think about the recurring theme of fraternal conflict throughout mythology and storytelling, doesn't it? Like it's tapping into something universal, something about the complexities of family and societal power dynamics, regardless of where the story originates.
Totally. And it really makes you wonder if those core themes we see in both the Mahabharata and Naruto Duty Destiny, that cyclical nature of conflict, maybe they actually share a common source of inspiration.
It wouldn't be surprising, would it? I mean, these stories have been passed down and reinterpreted for centuries.
Okay, so enough about ninjas for now. Let's switch gears to something a little more explosive. Let's talk Dragon Ball Z.
All right, let's do it.
Goku, the legend himself. You know, everyone knows he was inspired by the Chinese Monkey King, Sun Wukong.
A classic.
Oh yeah, but here's where it gets wild. Our source material takes it a step further, suggesting a link between Sun Wukong and the Indian deity Hanuman.
I know, right? It makes you think about how these cultural ideas travel and transform over time. The source argues that the similarities between Sun Wukong and Hanuman are just way too significant to ignore. It's like Goku's character might indirectly be drawing inspiration from Hanuman as well.
Think about it. Both are incredibly strong, fiercely loyal warriors dedicated to a greater purpose. Hanuman served Lord Ram in the Ramayana, another major Sanskrit epic, and Goku's all about protecting Earth. And don't even get me started on the powers. Hanuman changes his size, has crazy stamina, near immortal sound familiar. It's like Goku's Super Saiyan form straight out of the Ramayana.
And the flying Nimbus, that always struck me as unique to Goku. But then you see Hanuman flying and you start to wonder.
Right. I mean, our source makes a really compelling case for that connection.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to something that, well, sparked quite a bit of debate online. Record of Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah, that's a hot one.
Definitely. This anime pits gods from different mythologies against each other in these epic battles. And their portrayal of Lord Shiva, well, it really got some strong reactions from Indian anime fans.
Yeah, it was kind of controversial.
And to say the least. See, in the anime, Shiva's depicted as this hyper-muscular, aggressive fighter, which is pretty stark contrast to his traditional image in Indian culture. I mean, while Shiva is definitely a powerful force associated with destruction and transformation, he's also deeply revered as a peaceful yogi, someone who embodies meditation and detachment.
Yeah, so you can understand why some fans felt like this portrayal was a bit one-dimensional. They felt like it didn't truly respect such an important religious figure.
Like they focused solely on the fighting aspect and missed out on so many other crucial aspects of Shiva's character. It really begs the question, How far is too far when it comes to representing culturally significant figures in entertainment?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Where do we draw the line? Is it okay to use religious figures in anime? And if so, what does respectful representation actually look like?
It's a really interesting debate, that's for sure. And it's one we should all be thinking about as fans. Okay, now let's take a trip to the often bizarre world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And this one's a little more subtle, but still super intriguing.
Oh yeah, this is one of those little details that you might miss if you're not paying close attention.
Exactly. Our source points out that Kars, one of the Pillar Men, is seen wearing what looks like a Rudraksha mala.
Ah, yes. These beads hold deep spiritual significance for followers of Lord Shiva. They're believed to be a source of spiritual power, and they also symbolize Shiva's tears.
And the source goes even further, drawing a possible connection between the concept of ultimate evolution in JoJo and the Hindu idea of moksha, that liberation from the cycle of rebirth.
It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the potential influence of Hindu philosophy and symbolism in anime, even in the most unexpected places.
Totally. You start to see these little hints everywhere once you know what to look for.
Absolutely.
Okay, speaking of unexpected, let's talk Titans.
Oh, yeah!
Attack on Titan, right? A global phenomenon. This dark, complex story has captured the imaginations of so many people. And our source explores some pretty cool, albeit a little speculative, links to Indian mythology, specifically with Ravana from the Ramayana.
The Ramayana, just like the Mahabharata, is a cornerstone of Indian storytelling. It's filled with epic tales and larger-than-life characters.
And one of the parallels our source points out is between the sheer number of Titans and the 10 heads of Ravana.
Right. And in the Ramayana, Ravana's 10 heads symbolize all sorts of things: knowledge, power, different perspectives. And similarly, the various types of Titans in Attack on Titan represent different powers and threats.
Yeah, and it's not just about the quantity. Our source also brings up how the seemingly unstoppable nature of the Titans and Ravana's legendary arrogance kind of share a similar vibe.
It's like this overwhelming, almost inevitable force of nature.
Right. And that raises a really interesting point about how broad thematic inspiration can work. We might not always see those direct character parallels, but the underlying concepts of immense power and destruction, those can definitely resonate across different mythologies.
Our source even mentions a theory that Hajime Isayama, the creator of Attack on Titan, might have drawn inspiration from Indian legends, either consciously or unconsciously. It's hard to say for sure, but it's a fascinating thought.
And here's where it gets even wilder. The source proposes that the Titans themselves could be interpreted as representing demonic figures in Hinduism.
Especially when you think about their mindless rage and destructive tendencies.
Right. Our source points out that there are some striking visual similarities between the wall Titans and descriptions of ancient demons in Hindu scriptures.
It's definitely in the realm of speculation, but it adds a whole other layer to how we can interpret the anime's monstrous antagonists.
Okay, so we've talked characters, creatures, but what about the bigger picture? The philosophical side of things.
That's where it gets really interesting.
I know, right? Our source delves into the influence of Hindu philosophical concepts on anime storytelling as a whole. And there's some really fascinating recurring themes that pop up across a bunch of different series.
For sure. One of the most obvious connections is between karma and rebirth. The idea that your actions have consequences that can extend across multiple lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this reflected in a bunch of popular anime like Re:Zero, Tokyo Revengers, and Mushoku Tensei. These stories all center around characters grappling with their past lives, making choices, facing those consequences. It's a very clear echo of those core Hindu beliefs.
And then there's Dharma, righteous duty.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Think about characters like Luffy in One Piece, Goku in Dragon Ball, or even Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. They're all driven by this powerful sense of right and wrong, this commitment to their path. It's almost like the Hindu warriors' adherence to their dharma. It's their duty in life, their purpose.
And it's what drives the narrative forward, that sense of duty, that moral compass. It shapes their actions and the entire story.
Totally. And finally, our source touches on moksha, this idea of liberation from suffering and the cycle of rebirth. It's not always explicitly stated, but the quests of so many anime heroes, their search for an ultimate purpose, for a resolution to their struggles, it can be seen as a reflection of this Hindu ideal of enlightenment and release.
Like they're striving for something beyond just winning the fight. They're looking for a way to break free from the cycle of suffering.
Exactly. When you piece it all together, it becomes pretty clear that Indian mythology and philosophy have had this significant and often overlooked influence on anime as a whole. From those battling brothers in Naruto mirroring the Mahabharata, to Goku's potential connection to Hanuman, to the debate surrounding Shiva's portrayal, the subtle symbolism in JoJo's, the potential links in Attack on Titan, and all those underlying philosophical concepts, the connections are just incredibly deep and varied.
It really makes you appreciate the richness and depth of these stories, doesn't it?
It totally does.
And when you consider all these examples, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Record of Ragnarok, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Attack on Titan, and those broader philosophical themes, it really paints a picture of a much deeper connection between Indian culture and anime than you might initially think.
Well, there you have it, folks. A whole lot of fascinating connections to think about. Now, we really want to hear from you. Which anime, after diving into all of this, do you think is most inspired by Indian culture? Let's hear your theories. Head to the comments and let us know what you think.
Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts.
And here's a little something to ponder as you go. Considering all these connections, does it change the way you view these anime series? Does it make you want to explore Indian mythology a little more on your own?
It definitely sparked my curiosity.
Me too.
There's so much to discover.
I hope this deep dive has given you some new perspectives and maybe even inspired you to explore these connections further.
Keep those minds open and those connections flowing.